Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Visit Tuscaloosa.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome into the latest edition of Tider Insider Television alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. We got you covered. Coming off a bye week, Rodney, for both Alabama and LSU. And I don't know about you, of course, we're going to have this many games you need. I like having two byes in a season.
Yeah, I think definitely needed.
Yeah,
definitely
needed that one coming off that 5-game stretch, that's for sure. But it's back to work this Saturday night at Saban Field at Bryant Denny Stadium against LSU. Let's dive right in since we don't have a game to review. Coming off bye, we'll go ahead and start previewing this one. Of course, a lot has happened at LSU. Brian Kelly 3 years ago was brought in with the goal of winning a national championship, the way that Nick Saban had done, the way that the Mad Hatter had done, Les Miles, the way that Ed Orgeron had done, and it was expected that he would do it. He didn't, and he's out. And so Frank Wilson is the interim coach, New Orleans native, known as a great recruiter. They made some staff changes on offense, so they're coming off a 49-25 loss to A&M. Remember, they led that game at halftime and got away from them, and they got beat down in the second half. That was the last game Brian Kelly coached at LSU. So there's some unknowns now because interim head coaches. I don't think Frank Wilson will be the permanent head coach. At the same time, if he impresses some people, you never know. He's kind of got nothing to lose. He's playing with house money. Even if he doesn't stay at LSU, he's wanting to make an impression on other schools around the country. So do you expect a lot of changes for LSU in terms of what they do schematically?
You know, I don't know how much you can really change in a couple of weeks. I mean, you kind of are who you are. There may be some things that they change. I do think that Frank Wilson wants to run the football a little bit more than maybe what they have been running. I mean, this is not a really strong LSU running team. They only average 106 yards a game rushing. So, but I think that they would really like to run it more. And again, he was a running backs coach, so he likes to run it.
Joe Sloan out as offensive coordinator. Alex Atkins is going to be the play caller. Tim Rattay will handle the quarterback. So this was something, as far as Joe Sloan was concerned, that the LSU people were not happy with him. So not only is Kelly out, but the offense coordinator is. So you will have a new play caller on Saturday night.
You will. And again, there's probably going to be some differences. You know, the thing I really strikes me about this, Gary, is kind of what Frank Wilson has told his players. Said, look, I don't care if you're thinking about checking out. I don't care if you're thinking about going to some other school, hitting the portal, whatever it is. Now is a time to understand that you can kind of stealing one from Nick Saban, create value for yourself.
That's right.
So if you check out on this team right now, you're really checking out on yourself. And I think that's a really good motivational tactic that he used. And, you know, it's going to be interesting because, look, this is a really talented LSU team coming in here.
Yeah, preseason national championship contender. And Garrett Nussmeier, to show you how the preseason versus 8-9 games in can change, he was a Heisman Trophy candidate going in. We didn't know how Ty Simpson would play at Alabama. Now Ty Simpson is maybe the leading Heisman candidate. Garrett Nussmeier not in the Heisman campaign at all. But let's not forget, if you give him time to throw, he's a very accurate quarterback. People have been able to get pressure. He has not had a great year, but he's still very capable of having a big game.
That's the thing. He's capable, and they have really good receivers. You talk about Barry and Brown. You remember him? Alabama recruited him really hard. State of Tennessee, played for Kentucky, as Gary mentioned, transferred to LSU. This guy's a big-time playmaker. Aaron Anderson, the former Alabama player who's really explosive. He doesn't have any touchdowns this year, but he is a really explosive playmaker guy. And Gary, that 6'7" tight end they have.
Dangerous.
Trey Green.
Yes.
This guy is really dangerous. He's going to be a matchup nightmare. So you mentioned the weapons with Nussmeier. Very, very capable.
Yeah, that tight end's a throw it up and go get it guy.
He sure is.
Also, somewhat like Alabama, Alabama's trying to get the running game going. LSU's not been able to run the ball the way they would like this year, and that's really hurt their offense.
And I think that's something, again, that Frank Wilson wants to try to do in this game. And you look at, you can understand why, Gary. First of all, he believes in running the football, but you look at the Alabama defense, frankly. I mean, they give up 149 yards a game rushing. This is not necessarily an area that's been a strength of this Alabama defense. I think he'd like to challenge it.
And for Alabama, Rodney, the bye week came after 5 straight SEC games, 4 against ranked opponents, 5-0 in that stretch. Now you've had time to kind of revitalize. The last thing you want to do is come off the bye at home and get home with a loss.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've played extremely well. You needed the bye week, obviously. You had the gauntlet that they had with those 4 straight games and then the South Carolina game. So you really put yourself in a great position. Now you want to come back, and I think you want to be kind of take that next step. And I think that's really important in this game.
It is, Rod. And from a standpoint of how the season is broken down, the opening loss at Florida State, then wins over Monroe, blowout wins over Monroe and Wisconsin, got to the bye. That 5-game stretch, 5-0, got to the bye. Now it's a 4-game stretch run. 3 of them at home, beginning with LSU, then Oklahoma, Eastern Illinois out of conference, in the Iron Bowl at Auburn with another interim coach. So this 4-game stretch, while it looks great right now, you got to finish the deal.
You do have to finish the deal. Look, you and I neither one of us really thought they were going to get through that 5-game stretch before it started with
Georgia. They had a loss, yeah.
I mean, that was unrealistic to expect it. So what they did in that stretch, that 5-game stretch, was really phenomenal. Now you do have to close it down. I mean, you've got LSU. Obviously, that's the next step. You've got Oklahoma, Eastern Illinois, and then you go to Auburn, where there's some disarray down there. But you got to close it out. This is a great opportunity for Kalen DeBoer and this program.
It really is, and you got to do it one game at a time. And now it's time for Coach Talk. Alabama survived the schedule. We talked about that gauntlet at the beginning of the SEC schedule. 4 of its first 5 conference opponents were ranked in the top 25, and then had that tough one at South Carolina. Now Bama will finish the regular season with 4 games, all of them in the state of Alabama. 3 of them at Saban Field at Bryant Denny Stadium, the other one at Jordan-Hare. The team and the fans obviously feel like it's an advantage to be in the state of Alabama with 3 home games, but head coach Kalen DeBoer is not going to let the fact that a lot of people look at the schedule as favorable impact his team's attitude and focus.
It doesn't guarantee anything. I think it still comes down again to the preparation, but we definitely feel there's a home field advantage playing here at Bryant Denny, as I said. And so, we're looking forward to having, these teams come to our place, and, our goal, and as always, is to protect our house. And so the guys really, take a lot of pride in that, and, want to continue to do that and uphold the streak that we have.
All right, let's talk about home field advantage. And Rodney, as long as you know me, I've always said your home field advantage is in direct relation to how good your team
That's
is.
That's exactly right, how you play.
There are a lot of stadiums that have a reputation of being a tougher place to play, but statistically, if you go back through the years, Bryant Denny statistically is one of the toughest places to play. DeBoer has not lost a game at home. Saban's record inside Saban Field at Bryant Denny Stadium was remarkable. And the fans have brought it this year. But this is what you play for, to be in this position. I think what DeBoer was saying, hey, let's don't take anything for granted. We got to continue to stay focused, and the fans got to keep bringing the energy, excitement, and enthusiasm.
And I think they will. I mean, I think there is a lot of excitement right now about this Alabama football team because, look, after that Florida State debacle, we know where they were, okay? And then the way things kind of transpired since then, this crowd, this fan base has really gotten into it. They believe in this team. I think they're really excited about the way this team has been playing. And again, I think they'll show up Saturday night.
Yeah, you know how Alabama fans are. They can certainly smell a championship because they got a lot of experience for sure. And I think they're sniffing one right now. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, Alabama women's basketball started off its season with a victory on Monday afternoon. And Alabama men's basketball followed up that night with a good win against North Dakota. We will look back at both of the opening games for Alabama men and women coming up. Plus, a little bit later on, we'll get to your phone calls, emails, and tweets. As always, that phone number, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. We'd love to hear from you out there, Tider Insider Nation, because we're just getting started good. It's LSU week. Tider Insider TV will return after this. Welcome back into Tider Insider Television, presented by Visit Tuscaloosa. Go to visittuscaloosa.com. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Before we get to basketball, I do want to mention that next segment, phone calls, and Stu just told me we're wide open on the phone line. So it's a good night to get through, 205-348-9882. Go ahead and fill up those phone lines. We'll talk to you in the next segment. All right, basketball season, Rodney. I've talked about this a lot. It wasn't that long ago when you didn't even start practicing until October 15th. Now, man, they're playing games at the end of October or early November. Alabama men and women tipped off the season on Monday. The Alabama women's basketball team at home for a Monday afternoon game against the Stetson Hatters. Stetson came to play. This one was close all the way. In fact, Alabama trailed a good portion of the first half, and they were up 77-73 late in the game when Carly Weathers bombed a tray that put them up 80-73 kind of was the dagger. She had 11 points. They went on to win at 82-73. Jessica Timmons led the way with 21 points and 5 assists. Diana Collins had an all-around game, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, and a block. As I mentioned, Weathers had 11. Tide had 6 players in double figures, and they will play this Thursday against McNeese State at home as they continue to get their season going. And the Alabama men opened last night against North Dakota. Remember, they went to North Dakota last year and had their hands full in kind of a homecoming game for Grant Nelson. But this was a lot easier win, even though Alabama was without Latrell Wrightsell, Aiden Holloway, and Keaton Bristow. None of them dressed, and of course the transfer from Miami Bethea has been out for a while, so they were without 4 players last night, and hope to get 3 of those guys back for Saturday at Madison Square Garden against number 5 St. John's. But what a show by Philon last night. This guy is just a great player. Over 20 points, 8 assists, 3 rebounds, 9 of 13 shooting. And this Alabama team, Rodney, they get it up and down the floor. Probably need to rebound a little better, even though they control the boards, and need to get those guys back for Saturday.
They do. And, we did our preview on TiderInsider.com. We do it every year, first game, start of the season. Drew DeArmond did a fantastic job, Gary, but he talked about the whole thing changed when LeBaron Philon decided he was coming back.
Well, it really changed last year when Alabama finally decided to recruit him
that's right.
and sign him. But after the game, Nate Oats talking about the win and talking about trying to get people healthy for Saturday.
Yeah, I think this game, and obviously we'd have liked to have everybody healthy, but we didn't, so it forced us to play these freshmen a lot more. I think it helped getting them some game minutes. We're going to have to play significantly better Saturday than we did tonight, but we will. We'll have some guys ready. We'll have the rotation a little bit better. We'll put the guys that play hard, because St. John's plays extremely hard. That's why they're good. We'll put the hard-playing guys in the team. We'll put the guys in that can take care of the ball. We'll make sure we got a little bit better plan to hopefully attack the pressure on the defensive end.
Yeah, I like what Coach said there. By those guys being out, they played some true freshmen who will now have some experience, because what they're going to run into Saturday morning, that's an 11 a.m. Central tip at Madison Square Garden. They're going to run into buzzsaw. St. John's at home. Rick Pitino, they're going to guard you. They're going to pressure you. And if you're not able to handle that pressure and that intensity, they have the potential to run you out of the gym.
Yeah. Tell you what, it's going to be a good challenge early, isn't it?
It will. Hey,
we're going to find out a lot.
So you got Bama basketball in the morning,
yeah.
And that's on FS1, and you got Bama football at night. So pretty good doubleheader for Crimson Tide fans. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, Week 9 of our weekly Bama in the NFL segment. We'll have that when we come back. And up next, your phone calls, emails, and tweets. And we did get a tweet in this week, by the way, if we get to it. 205-348-9882 is that number. We want to hear from you. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the award-winning Tider Insider TV. Love me some Bama in the NFL. That's why we do it every week here on TITV. Week 9, Cardinals linebacker Matt Wilson. Look at him reach in there and punch it out, causing the fumble as the Cardinals beat the Cowboys. Matt Wilson's having a heck of a year. Big win for Arizona over Dallas. In Green Bay, it was a battle of Xavier McKinney getting the better of Bryce Young right there, getting the pick off Bryce. But Bryce would have the last laugh as he would lead his team on a final minute drive. He's good at that. They would kick a field goal to knock off the Packers at Lambeau. Hey, the Panthers are 5-4. What about the Niners? And Mac Jones doing it again, finds Jawan Jennings. That's an Alabama to Tennessee connection right there, Rod. Yeah. But Mac is playing so well. I know Brock Purdy's going to be back at some point. I'm not sure, though, the 49ers are going to rush him because and there's B-Rob. He's backing up McCaffrey, but, boy, he just ran over that guy. He had a touchdown. So, again, Bama in the NFL, the 49ers beat the Giants 34-24. All right, welcome back into Tider Insider TV. Phone lines are open, I'm told, 205-348-WVOA. Where are you at, callers? Let's go ahead and get to our email question of the day. It's brought to you by KDM Service Corporation, serving your family like our family. And it is from Mark and Gadsden. Have the coaches ever addressed how East and West Jam seems to run? I'm sure they have, Mark. I will say this. He's not the biggest guy, and he does look to pop it out, outside some. But I'll tell you this. I've seen him square up those pads and run between the tackles, too. I think he's had a good year. He's battled an injury. I just think that for him, he likes to try to, see that space outside the tackle box, but I think he's run hard.
He does. Look, first of all, he hurt the shoulder, and then he had the concussion. So he has really had a difficult time. Now, against Vanderbilt, he had 136 yards rushing. Then he comes back with 85, gets the injury against Missouri. I don't think he's really been the same since. Gary, we used to hear from inside the building back in practices that nobody wanted to tackle him when he got on the second level because he ran with such physical power. Again, he might not be running like he has been because of the injuries. I don't really know, but I do know one thing. Alabama's got to get better running the football.
Yeah, and I know they work with all those backs on running behind their pads, and running hard. And I think that they address everything that we see. Those coaches see it, that is for sure. Hey, thanks for that email. Let's get to another email question. Again, phone lines are open, 205-348-WVOA, 348-982. Let me say something real quick, too, about one of our callers, Rodney. He wanted to call in tonight, but Sammy, one of our loyal viewers up in Walker County, lost his mother, 96 years old. Yeah. And our condolences go out to Sammy and his family. All right, let's get to another email question. And this is from Myron in Demopolis. Do y'all think Nate Oats will go to the NBA? Not anytime soon, Myron. I think he's focused on trying to win a national championship at Alabama. I think that's his goal. I think that's the only thing. Now, at some point in time, as good a coach as he is, could I see him going to the NBA? Yeah, possibly. But I think right now he's not even thinking about that. He's at Alabama. He wants to be at Alabama, and he wants to win a title.
And he's got a chance to do it.
All right, still to come here on Tighter Insider Television. Alabama soccer faced off against number 8 Vanderbilt today in the quarterfinals of the SEC soccer tournament down in Pensacola. It was a good game. And more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. At least I hope we get some phone calls. 205-348-9882. The last few weeks they've been ringing off the hook. I'll check. I'm going to call the phone during the break, make sure it's working. Let's hear from some of you folks out there in Tighter Insider Nation. We'll be right back with more on a Tuesday night in Tuscaloosa. Stay with us. Alabama soccer upset South Carolina in the first round of the SEC women's tournament. Today they were playing number 8 and second seeded Vanderbilt. Look at that great teamwork right there. And Nadia Ramadan gets the goalie outside and puts the shot past her. Tough luck, though. 2 minutes later for Alabama, Maddie Munguia, the keeper for Alabama, comes way too far out here. And, well, she came way too far out, and that led to a handball, which led to the penalty kick. And that made it 1-1, and Vanderbilt goes on to get the win. 2-1, Alabama, though, expected to make it into the NCAA tournament. All right, welcome back in to TI TV. And let's jump out on the phone lines. We got a call. Greg over in Birmingham. Hey, Greg.
Hey, good evening, guys. Just want to get your thought on something. Ever since Kirby went to Georgia, it just seems to me that we've not been able to recruit, especially defensive linemen, at the same level that we did before he went over there. What do we need to do to shore up the defensive line? And for that matter, we really have not had the dominant offensive line like we've had in years past as well. And what do you think we need to do to change that?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me start on the offensive line because I think they did a fantastic job in this last class. Getting some. I think Michael Carroll's going to be really good. I think Jackson Lloyd's going to be good. I think potentially Mal Waldrop and potentially Micah DeBose. But I think they're going to do a really good job recruiting on the offensive line. On the defensive line, it's extremely competitive. I mean, those guys now, it's high dollar. I mean, you've got to be willing to invest money NIL-wise in defensive linemen because it's extremely competitive. And look, all those schools, Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, they do a really good job too, Gary, of evaluating but also developing those guys on the defensive line. So, again, I think Alabama right now, this recruiting class as we see it, I think they've got some really good top-notch defensive linemen committed. So we'll see.
All right, we're going to try to squeeze another call. And y'all going to have to tell me again who it is. It was so fast. Jim and Minor. All right, Jim, we don't have a graphic for Jim and Minor, but Jim, we got you. Go ahead.
Hey, Rodney, Gary.
Hey, Jim.
I want to know, why don't they use Daniel Hill more in the running game?
Well, we've discussed that, and you know what? Coming off this bye, he's kind of moved up to the number 2 back spot ahead of Kevin Riley. He's been integrated in more. I wouldn't be surprised if coming off this bye, in my opinion, that we see a lot more of him in running situations.
Yeah, he only carried it 3 times in this last game against South Carolina, but he has been big as a receiver. He led the team in this past game in receiving yards, Gary. But, yeah, I'd like to see I'd like to see him run it a little bit more, too. I thought he gave him a spark in the Tennessee game when they got him on the edge a couple of times, and he made a couple of good runs between the tackles. I think he's got to touch it more. I think both of them. Jam only carried it 10 times, but, I'd like to see he'll certainly get more carries.
All right, and we're going to try to get Jimmy G in North Shelby real quick. Hey, Jimmy G.
Yes, sir. My name's Denny G.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. Real quick, is there any way for a guy, most Bama fans, to find out on NIL what the players are making? I'd like to know. I mean, is there any way, is that something that's kept under wraps?
I don't know that it's kept under wraps. I don't know if they advertise it. I mean, if you Google players' name and NIL, usually through either AI or reports, you can get an idea. I don't know that it's actually publicized, but you can find out. If you want to do a little investigative internet searching, NEG, I think you might be able to find out some of these guys. But as far as exact numbers, I don't know. But we'll see what we can find out.
Yeah,
a lot of them are making a lot of money, I'll tell you that. All right, we're going to take a time out. It's prediction time when we come back to TITV, find out what we are thinking about and who we think is going to win the game between Alabama and LSU on Saturday night. We'll be back after this. The University of Alabama men's cross country team won the 2025 SEC championship last Friday at Cherokee Farms Cross Country Course in Knoxville. It's the team's 5th conference title and 2nd in 4 years. The Alabama women finished 2nd, and Doris Lemon-Goley won the women's 6K title for the 2nd consecutive year. Congratulations. All right, it's time for Alabama LSU predictions. As always, Rodney, you lead us off.
Well, I look at this game and I say one team's kind of in disarray. You look at another team that I think they've built a lot of confidence, the way they've played. They've gone through that gauntlet, and I'm talking about Alabama. And I think, look, they've got a championship on their mind. Alabama shows up to play. It's going to be tough. A lot of one-score games in the SEC, but I've got this in 28-20.
Yeah, we're usually pretty close. We're going opposite again. Last game against South Carolina, I had it pretty close. You had it more of a wide open game. I think Alabama's going to open up a can on LSU. All this stuff about they're going to be energized and all that, they don't have a coach. I like Alabama to blow out LSU on Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. If we'll pull up my final, I'll tell you what it is, 38-17. How about that? So we will see. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Tider Insider TV. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching. You can catch a replay tonight at 10:30 or find it anytime at WVUA23.com. This is Nick Saban's birthday party, courtesy of Kristen Saban on Instagram. They got him a cake. He didn't seem too interested. Good night, everybody.